Afghanistan has also been a big money pit during the 13 years that NATO and US forces have been there. Hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent on all kinds of weapons and ammunition to help troops and local soldiers fight the Taliban. NATO's new chief has branded the campaign a success. But as RT's Marine Report Naya reports now, a lot of the high-tech gear used is slowly finding its way to the insurgents.
By the year's end, most foreign combat troops will say goodbye to Afghanistan.
The main objective of the NATO mission, ISAF mission in Afghanistan, was to prevent Afghanistan being a safe haven for terrorist organizations. And that goal we have achieved.
However, reports from the ground paint a far grimmer picture. According to Afghanistan's official news agency, local police forces, desperate for cash, are selling stockpiles of weapons and ammunition to the Taliban.
When local police forces or other government agencies can't get paid, they end up looking for ways to get extra money. They may sell equipment. They may ultimately defect and go to work for the Taliban. That's certainly possible. So the issue of U.S. tax money ending up in Taliban hands is a long-standing problem. They are fighting and assisting what they call terrorist forces in the same country.
According to Kama Press, Afghan local police haven't been paid in 3 months. Officers reportedly claim they're forced to sell arms to the Taliban to feed their families. American taxpayers have spent an estimated $61.5 billion building up Afghanistan's national security forces.
Compared to the situation in 2001, 2002, Afghanistan and the world is safer because of what we have done in Afghanistan.
But seeing hard evidence that supports Western claims of success is suddenly prohibited. The NATO-led International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan has classified its capability assessments, detailing the progress and abilities of the Afghan army and police forces. But as the U.S. military prepares to withdraw most of the 34,000 troops from Afghanistan, an unaccomplished mission remains in the shadows. A recent report commissioned by the U.S. government has found that rebel attacks in Afghanistan remain at their highest level since 2011.
U.S. taxpayer money is winding up in the hands of the Taliban. Here's Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Lara Logan.
The U.S. is unintentionally funding the enemy in Afghanistan and undermining its own efforts to stabilize the country. That alarming conclusion revealed in a congressional report obtained by CBS News. Congressman John Tierney led the investigation.
U.S. taxpayer dollars are being used to fund warlords and other people that are fueling corruption in that government.
The report concludes U.S. tax dollars end up in insurgent hands through a trucking contract worth more than $2 billion. To ensure safe passage of supplies to U.S. bases through dangerous areas, trucking companies make payments to local security firms with ties to the Taliban who control the roads.
U.S. taxpayer dollars could conceivably be buying weapons for the Taliban.
That's one of the problems that we're concerned with. That's conceivable.
There's a new government report, stunning report here, providing disturbing evidence that nearly half of the U.S. weapons supplied to the Afghan army are missing. And there are growing fears they are winding up in the hands of insurgents there. Retired U.S. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Bill Cowan's a Fox News military analyst. Colonel, good morning to you. A lot of money, a lot of weapons over the past decade plus. You say this is no surprise. Now, why would that be?
Well, Bill, yeah, you know, Bill, we've watched in Afghanistan, there's been attacks by Afghan security people on NATO forces. We know there have been a lot of Afghans that have walked away from their post and deserted to go to the Taliban out of fear of the growth of the Taliban. And so we look at these numbers as we get ready to withdraw all of our forces by the end of this year or have a security agreement that allows us to keep 10,000 people there. And we find out that in essence, what we're doing is preparing the Taliban for the onslaught they're going to try and have after U.S. and NATO forces are out of there. And it's inconceivable, but a lot of weapons, Bill, out there clearly have gone to the Taliban and maybe to the Taliban, Pakistani Taliban,
you
too.
Don't know.
And who knows where else.
You don't know where else. All right, here are the numbers we believe. $626 million in firearms into that battle, and more than 40% of those cannot be tracked down.
It's unbelievable, Bill. And, you know, it's a clear reminder that Afghanistan is the #1 nation for heroin trafficking across the world. They've got this smuggling down to an absolute art science. 747,000 weapons is what we've given them. Pistols, rifles, machine guns, grenade launchers. Those are pretty darn big numbers, and I think somewhere along the line we would have figured out why give them more weapons than they need. Not including the fact that they're giving weapons away or they're being stolen or slipped into a smuggling supply chain. The fact that we'd even give them the wrong number of weapons is inconceivable, and maybe in part that's because of the high turnover rate we've had of Americans coming and going. People go there, they're there for 6 months, they're there for a year, they don't get a chance to pay attention to the logistics request, the logistics chain, the logistics requirements, and it's just a lack of accountability on our side. And then, of course, that lack of accountability transfers over to the Afghan side, where they've done a terrible job of keeping track of what we've given.
And the thing to be afraid of is that they can be used against you. Now, you ask a critical question: where will these missing weapons turn up? Now, this story is out of Afghanistan, but remember what's happening between Syria and Iraq and ISIS and the army that's taken over numerous towns in that wide open border.
But certainly when it's weapons that we have paid for that are going into the hands of our opponents, there's where we have a problem.
Now, we may have to fight again. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you.
Well, the region, the area, the province that you just mentioned, Ghazni province, this whole eastern part of Afghanistan continues to be very unstable. And the writ of the Afghan government, the Kabul government, continues to be almost non-existent in this region. And these groups are taking, again, as I say, center stage more and more. And it's not just the Afghan Taliban. We have a very disturbing development right now. The offense that you just mentioned, I think we're seeing now the infusion or the insertion of new type of militants who are imitating the ISIS terrorist group in Iraq and Syria with beheadings and so forth. The Afghan Taliban, of course, just a couple of months ago in July, posted a warning on its website, a warning directed at the ISIS, asking that terror group in Syria and Iraq not to be this much brutal, and tolerate dissent among Muslims and so forth. But now we're seeing some groups in Afghanistan and some militants imitating this group, and we're not yet sure whether these are the Afghan Taliban or not. And it's very disturbing to see that children and women have been beheaded in this offensive that you just mentioned just in the past week. Who is doing this? Are the Afghan Taliban doing this? Are there some breakaway faction within the Afghan Taliban that has decided to link itself up with the ISIS? These are just questions that even Afghan officials and security officials are asking, and it's a disturbing development to see this happening. But all of this is happening simply because the Afghan government is incapable 13 years down the road, despite the full support of the Western allies, the United States, NATO. Complete failure we're seeing on the ground.
We've heard some reporting of ISIS or ISIL trying to come to Afghanistan and recruit and operate. We actually haven't seen any indication of that. Everywhere we've looked for that, we've heard of that, we've looked for it, we can't find it. As you know, ISIS, ISIL are very prominent in the news worldwide right now. So are there people who are watching ISIS or ISIL and going, wow, I'm attracted to that. Al-Qaeda seems kind of old hat to me. Maybe I'm attracted to ISIL, and so I become a self-proclaimed ISIS or ISIL aspirant. I think some of that may be happening, but so far we haven't seen any evidence that ISIS or ISIL are here operating in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan's border with Iran. These remote mountain passes give cover to thousands of smugglers, and they've become a pipeline for weaponry funneled to the Taliban from Iran. The international community has often claimed that the Iranians are supporting the Taliban, but it's extremely difficult to track down the evidence. The Afghans aren't comfortable talking about arms smuggling publicly, but they have been filming it. These images are from the Afghan police's video evidence file of weapons they say they've intercepted on their way to the Taliban. This is the first time they've ever been shown. Plastic explosives, hand grenades, phone cards and propaganda booklets, and rows of the mines used in roadside attacks against international forces. They all display serial numbers in Persian.
Proof, say Afghan police sources, that they came from Iran's state-run weapons factories. According to Afghan government internal reports, over the last 12 months, 10.5 tons of weaponry was intercepted coming across the border. 60% of the arms, they say, came directly from the Iranian government.
Been given access to 2 pieces of evidence of the Iranian support for the Taliban. Here you've got a Russian missile, and this is a roadside bomb. It's Iranian made. You can see the serial number here is written in Persian.
Afghan officials told us the Russian missile was evidence that Iran was also buying weapons from Russia to send on to the Taliban. Claims that Iran is playing a dangerous double game. In one of its strongest statements to date, the Foreign Office said, at the same time as supporting the legitimate Afghan government, Iran is undermining it by providing weapons and training for the Taliban. Iranian support for the Taliban is totally unacceptable and undermines any international confidence in Iran's good faith. In the northeast of Afghanistan, where we met a senior Taliban leader. He insisted on anonymity, but told us that the Taliban were increasingly reliant on the Iranian border.
Day by day, the Iranian border becomes more important for us. As you know, now in Pakistan there are many problems for the Taliban. The Pakistanis are imprisoning many of us. The Pakistani border is more and more closed now.
Shiite Iran has never had much time for the hardline Sunni Taliban movement, but it does want a place at the negotiating table over Afghanistan's future. Western officials are convinced the Islamic Republic is attempting a delicate balancing act, providing the Taliban with just enough support to bog down international forces.
Hey, I wonder if we got online. Oh! Hey, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock! So he's shooting at 3 o'clock.
Big one. What's the BW? Got it. You're all right. Everybody's good. We're good. Everybody's good.
This is the ID. Fire in the hole, fire in the hole, fire in the hole.
Yeah, we'll probably have to back up from this one. ID. That was Bloody X-ray, red one, contact ID.
Keep going, go, go, go!
Hey, you good? Good? Yeah. Are you good? Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. My foot, please go.
Jesus Christ, help us all, Lord.